Welcome to Story Ideas on the Fly.
Where we pick a random idea from a hat.
And then we just try to develop it.
If you like any of the ideas here, feel free to take them for your own stories.
Ideas are free.
Okay, let's see what it is today. Oh, okay. It says smoke and mirrors, Western style.
Smoke and mirrors.
So, stage magician, but Western.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a whole lot to work with there, but
Well, so could your stage magician be pulling some kind of scam, some kind of scheme? Uh,
Kind of like a Music Man situation.
yes, but maybe even more with more smoke and mirrors, more I'm going to distract all your attention here so that you're looking for me here, and then poof, I've made off with your
So you're talking more of a Now You See Me situation, but
well,
in the
yeah.
Western situation.
Yeah.
Western.
Or at least a little bit of that flair where he's not just pulling a standard con, he's pulling a con.
Yeah, a con man, that could work. What really defines the smoke and mirrors and westerns as genres is really what we have to ask for something like this. With smoke and mirrors, it's all about the techniques used to pull whatever scam the characters are pulling. Often they're, in fact, many of them, for example, Now You See Me is all about smoke and mirrors, and it's basically a heist story.
Yeah. Well, and
Because
criminals are a very common theme in westerns, but usually your criminal schemes
gunslingers there.
in a western story are usually more your straightforward. We're just going to come in and threaten you, or we're going to come in and kill you, or we're going to come in and rob the bank. It's very straightforward. So if you had someone who's smoke and mirrors, he'd be working on a multifaceted, multidimensional plan that's a lot more sophisticated.
Well, one interesting thing about that is um is weaponry of the time. As weapons evolved, so did the combat techniques would change around them. And around the
Mm-hmm.
Western time, they used guns, and the big thing about those is it was all about who shot first, and so it was all about speed. But what if you have a person who who's naturally just very slow and methodical? So in fights, it's really hard for someone like that to be a quick draw because
Yeah.
he's slow. But if he's super clever,
He makes it so he doesn't have to draw first.
yeah. So his whole so
Or draw at all.
yeah, he's like, okay, I can't draw first, so let's just set up everything into a situation where I never even have to draw first. Or
Yeah.
by the time the other person realizes we're drawing, I've already shot them, type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Think 10 steps ahead of your opponent, sort of
yes,
thing.
and so that gives him an actual. Now the big question then is, what kind of conflict would he be in?
What kind of heist or con or scheme is he doing? Because this has to be bigger than just we want to rob the bank and make a quick buck. He's
Mm,
he's coming for something big.
yes. Hmm. Okay.
He could be someone who is pretending to be, he's pretending to be totally inept. That's kind of the smoke and mirrors, as I'm coming in as this bumbling fool, and I'm looking like I am doing. Oh, I'm not in the film. I'm looking like I am doing, just absolutely stupid, ridiculous thing. Sheriff Will or robbing the bank or whatever, and he's going in playing the fool, and that's kind of the smoke and mirrors when his facade is so dumb, but he is scheming, and all those dumb things are actually working together to set up,
That's
his
certainly possible.
his bank robbery or his takeover of the town or his takeover of the will or his, what is exactly is he after? Is he after the deed to the city? Is he after, what's he
I
after?
think he's after something big. It may be small bits and pieces here and there, but he's after something. In the grand scheme of things, he's going for something big.
It could be buried treasure.
I like the
Because
whole deed to the city
Yeah, I think the deed to the city would work best because
because it.
most things you're looking for in a western are going to be smaller stakes. So
Yeah,
that's
but
about as high stakes.
that's
as you
about
get.
high stakes as you can get. Is probably like take over the like full on. I want to own this entire city, which the interesting thing about that is I think like back in the Western times, you would have like people would come in, settle a city, and and cities would just grow up. But and so whoever owned the land and first started there might technically be the closest to owning it. But you don't really cities don't have owners. You don't. And so it wouldn't be a single deed, which means you can't just go in,
Yeah.
steal one document and own the city or something. No,
No, you
this
have
would be
to
this would have to be a systematic. I need to
a
take
detailed.
I need to take over this place and this place and this place.
perhaps there is, gold under the city. He has reason to believe that there is a gold mine under the city somewhere, and an entrance to it, in beneath one of these buildings, but he doesn't know which. You've got a bit of a mystery in there where he's got to come and solve, where would I go? Where is this? Or, whether it's buried treasure or gold mine, where would it be? And so he's got to solve that. And that would kind of add to that whole smoke and mirrors thing, because now, and whether you want him to be an actual magician, which I kind of like,
Yeah, that's what
he
I
could
was leaning
also
towards.
be some kind of elixir salesman, or here's a cure
Ooh, he
all
could be a
miracle
magician
drug.
who's also a snake oil salesman.
Yes, and and then he could, but then
Because this definitely, hey, look, this coin has a magical property of producing money. Look at this. I just got $1 out of it. Now, of course, it's really valuable because I mean, I'm a little bit of a lot of money now is more valuable to me than consistent money over time. So I might be willing to get away with it. But this produces money every day. And he could actually trick people into thinking his things work with his magic tricks.
Interesting.
but he'd have to say it does it with the full moon or something, because otherwise you're going to notice it doesn't do it every day.
Yeah.
He has to come up with a scheme that works. But
So
I like that he's.
I
Well,
like the
him
snake oil
thinking-
salesman with magician tricks.
Yeah, I like him thinking 10 steps ahead of everyone to make this work.
Okay.
So the question is he your villain, or does he have a change of heart?
Okay. Ooh.
Because you could go both ways with that. You could have him be the mastermind plotting all these schemes to become super, super wealthy and take over the town, and then have him have a change of heart in the end, and that could be a heartwarming story. Or you could have him be the villain, and then have your hero be someone who can take him down.
Or you could go like Artemis Fowl style and just have him win, but also have the heroes who are fighting against him win. That's
Okay, do
difficult,
kind of
but really cool.
Oh yeah.
A compromise.
Yeah. Well,
Compromise between the heroes and the villain winning.
yeah. I mean, if you have a villain protagonist, you don't really like seeing the protagonist lose, but you also don't like seeing the villain win. So Artemis Fowl did that really well by having basically both sides win.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I think is, if you're going to have him be a villain or a likable villain that ends up, I think you still need a strong villain against him. Okay.
It is helpful to have a good villain.
Okay, especially in a Western. It's a
Yeah.
Western. You gotta have a strong villain to shoot at the end. Yeah,
Wait.
somebody has to get shot.
Okay, here's what you do. You have 3 factions. You have 3 groups going around. So
Okay.
many people know that this town was obviously created during the gold rush because that's when most Western towns were made. And but all the gold from the local area was quickly taken up,
Mhm.
and no one can find any anymore. But there are rumors that one of the first people to get here got a huge amount of gold and hid it somewhere. And so you have a group of bandits going around basically trying to break into people's homes, search around, try to see any clues
Your
to
more
where to find.
classical villains.
Yeah, your
Western
classic
villains.
Western villains, and they're just going around and they want to find this gold. Then you have a hero who's the sheriff, who is
Obviously.
yeah, because you always have the sheriff helping the town, and he's basically trying to keep law and order in the town. What
Mhm.
this guy's doing though is he's subtly robbing people, but not of their valuables. He's doing things like robbing records. And stealing other bits of information so he can piece together this thing. He's playing people like a fiddle to make them do things, and eventually, what happens is he orchestrates it so that the sheriff takes out the group the bandits
The big baddie for him.
the bandits while while revealing the location for him. And so and the bandits go, "That's where it is," and the sheriff go, "Nope, you're going to jail." And then he just goes in, gets his gold, leaves. So he does a heroic thing in that case. So he's not pure villain.
Yeah, he's
So-
kind of in the middle there.
Yeah, he's a middle ground. He just wants his money
Yeah,
and grab his
okay.
money and go. But he helps the heroes beat the villains while also manipulating the villains to help him.
Or he could there is a possibility of making the sheriff a girl. Would make an interesting
Oh, you're
love
wanting
interest.
to make love
Or
interest, of course.
you
Yeah.
could just have, the sheriff be a guy, an older man and have a daughter or something. And so then, he ends up finding it,
He
realizing
plans this awesome heist. He gets
yeah,
it all
gets
done,
it,
and then
then
at the end
realizes
he's like,
it's rightly hers. And gives it, so he gives it to her, but
And then gives it back
since
to the
he's
city.
no, but since he's fallen in love with her and there's pitted off, he gets it anyway.
there you go.
So then he gets it, but he's still done the
but
right
not
thing.
in the way that he
Right,
was
not
expecting.
the way he expected. He didn't have to pull the, he didn't. He pulled the heist,
Mm-hmm.
and at the same time, though, did the right thing, giving it to who it belonged to, but still benefited. And then he can help find the sheriff fight the bad guy at the end.
Well, it depends on how you wanted to do this. If you wanted to make a classical story or of good meets evil and stuff like that, then yes, you'd want to do that style. However, if you wanted to do a villain protagonist specifically, I'd go with what I said. However, I would also you could throw in a love interest, but you wouldn't have to be the sheriff's daughter or anything. But it all depends on how you want to write the story, really.
Yeah.
What kind of story do you want?
Do you want him to be the anti-hero? Do you want him to be
Yeah,
the
but
hero?
I
Do you
want to
hero
see
or
the
the hero?
gunfight at the end with magic. Because here you've got a guy that's very clever
fun.
with
That's a good
smoke and
point.
mirrors. So you actually have the bad guys are doing the
No, what he
just
does-
straight shooting, and that's that. And then they shoot it, and oops, it was
No,
an
what you
actual
do is you
mirror.
have
It was,
you have him go, "Okay, sheriff." Yeah, you could have him help the sheriff at the end though in either one. That would
Yes.
be funny though. It's just
That
like
would be
there
fun if
there
he
he is,
pulled-
bang 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 bang.
Or they're like, "You're the worst shot. You can't win this." Have the bad guy face him off with him at the very end. You can't win this because the sheriff might be the fastest draw in this town, but you are not. And he pulls out his gun and it's a rubber chicken. I don't know, or something happens, and then the guy goes, "Nope, I'm not the fastest draw in the town, but I did," and have him come up with a way to
Yeah,
have him come up with some clever
which
tricks.
would be a little bit harder if you made him the full-on anti-hero. I mean, it would still be possible, but it would be harder.
And you get things
But-
like I might not be the fastest draw, but I did unload your gun.
There you go.
Or no, you don't have him say stuff like that. You have him say, "Oh yeah, it would be a shame if you shot first. Fortunately, you don't have any bullets." Wait, what?
Wait, what?
Wait, no. The first one checks. No, I still have bullets. bang, the sheriff shoots him, and then the next guy shoots, and he's the one who doesn't have bullets.
Nice.
Good
You
old
can have some-
misdirection. You have him tell one of them, but it happens to be a different one who doesn't have the bullets.
Yeah, but I could see. I don't know. I just think it would be hilarious and serious. You can play both comedy
Yeah,
and because
'cause-
here a gun size, here
Yeah,
a
the
gunfight, you've got
stakes are
people.
life
The
and death.
stakes are high. The stakes are life and death. But you could still have it just be so creative with
Yeah.
all these. Let's see how much misdirection. Let's see how many tricks
See
you
how
can
many
pull on him.
creative ways I can take down the villains when I'm not the fighter.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it would be that would be a really cool, that could be a really epic final battle.
This strikes me less as a novel and more like a
Short film?
not a short film, but yeah, a shorter one. This feels to me like this is more, yeah, like a shorter novel, not like quite the kids' book, but it does
You're
strike me as
saying
a shorter
this could
story.
be done in an hour and a half long movie.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So, and I think, and that's
That's
perfectly
okay.
great. So,
Smaller, you can also write it as a shorter
because I
book,
think this
which
feels,
is-
yeah, that's what I said. Is it's a shorter book. Well,
which is nice.
but this
sometimes,
feels
'cause-
less like this is all about having an intense plot or even groovy stuff, and more just let's see how
An
we can
intellectual
have this
game.
guy be clever, an intellectual game. Yeah, that really feels like the type of book this leans itself best to.
Sounds like fun.
If you wanted to write it in a longer book, you would follow him through several cities and see his development and him pulling different heists and is doing different things and getting more people coming after him at the end. So he is not fighting off a couple of bad guys who are coming after this. He is fighting off a bunch of enemies that he's made. And I don't know. I think you could, if you wanted to complicate this, if you wanted to throw in some subplots, if you wanted to throw in some people that maybe he did, rob from that he regrets and he's going to have to try to, fix things with there. Or if you want to throw in a girl from one of those past cities that is totally disillusioned with him, or multiple girls, and that can
Have one
always
girl
be
coming
fun.
back for
Yep.
revenge because he schmoozed her to get the
Yeah, we can throw
information
in
and
more
then
love
ran
triangles.
off with the.
Yeah, you could make it a
Well,
longer
the
one,
I
but
wasn't
Or
thinking
the
love
good-
triangles. I was thinking he's going to get his face
Love
smacked a lot.
dodecahedrons?
yeah.
Hey, face slaps are work. They're fun.
Yeah, so you could take this multiple ways, but overall, I think as a basic concept, I think we have a pretty good one. If you wanted to develop it, you could take it like 5 different ways from here,
Oh yeah.
all depending on what kind of story you wanted to tell. So, yeah, what kind of story do you want to tell?
Yep.
Western is something I've never written. I probably should. Yeah, we'd love to see what you can come up with.
All right.